I'm Caleb Brooks with the AHSAA Radio Network. I'm at Pelham High School. I'm joined by the head volleyball coach, Coach Perry Robinson. And Coach, you're in the middle of year 8 here at Pelham, and you've been kind of all over the place in your career as a coach. You've been all the way out in Houston and coached out there. You've coached Division II ball as well, and had a little bit of time at Montevallo, which is where you're from.
Graduated from.
Yeah, graduated
from Tennessee originally,
yeah, but graduated from Montevallo and knew that area well, and then you get brought here to Pelham, and you were telling me a little bit before that it just kind of happened to just be perfect timing for you ending up here, but you've gotten here and then you've established a really good program here at Pelham, and when people think of Pelham volleyball, they think of success, and I think that you've had as much to do with that as anybody with just coming in and getting this program off to the right foot.
Well, historically, before I got here, I don't want to take anything away. A lot of good things happened before I got here. But our athletic director, Kim Keel, she understands the history because she's part of it, and she's like, hey, coming in here, this is what the bar is, and we're like, okay, good. I mean, we want to shoot for the, to be as good as we can be every year, whatever that turns out to be, and it's been a lot of fun because there's obviously support for volleyball. It's been good for a long time, and I kind of tell the players that we're just caretakers the year we're in it, and we just try and keep it as high as a level as we can and as good as we can, and whenever they graduate and whenever I move on, we're going to hopefully leave it better than we found it. So
yeah, but and what I was basically speaking to was just for you coming in, establishing your program here in the way that, because somebody's going to come along the way that messes this thing up. I mean, but it just hadn't happened yet. For you to come in, keep this thing going, and really get your program off. Early, and with the successes you guys have, you built it up to a state championship, and now you're sitting there, you're 15-6, and every loss you have this year's to ranked opponents.
Yeah, it's a fun schedule to go play ranked opponents. You get to challenge yourself. That's one of the things when we schedule. Where can we see, quality opponents? Doesn't matter the class. It just matters is it good volleyball and like we've been at the Hartsville twice, once for a tri match. We had Hartsville and Brewer, who was in the top 5 of 5A at that time. I think they still are. And then of course Hartsville's ranked ahead of us in 6A, and then back at Hartsville played them better. So we're slowly catching up to them. Yeah. And then some other, we played some other 6A ranked teams, and we have one tonight at home. So that's going to be interesting to see how that goes.
And you mentioned not worrying about classification, just playing good volleyball teams. And I asked the girls, "Who's the best team y'all have played?" And they said Montgomery Academy. 4A school down in Montgomery.
Yeah, they have a winning tradition of their own, and it's some of those winning schools that sometimes you have to play a little bit better to beat them because their normal is really high. So you got to make sure your normal kind of reaches up to theirs and to give yourselves a chance. I don't know that I disagree with that statement. So,
as a coach, when you're making out the schedule, I mean, you have some coaches that would rather play kind of a weaker schedule, get their team confidence, and just get wins and get used to winning. So, why do you challenge your team the way that you do?
Well, honestly, the way our playoffs work, it's area, so it's a small grouping. You just got to come out in the top half, and then it's just a matchup game. I mean, I think every coach can say that, but it's such a you can kind of see who you might get later on. So if you end up in an elimination round versus a good team, you don't want that to be the second or third time you've seen a good team all year.
Yeah.
You want to have experience playing those matches that mean something where on the other side of the net that there's going to be quality volleyball coming back at you. If we could, hunt down, and I don't mean that we're going to go get them, but just to go play them. There's some 6A schools that we always see if we can catch them if they're coming to Birmingham, or do we need to go to their part of the state just to see, because we want to play them, we want to challenge ourselves and see what we can do.
And to me, that's what's made y'all as good as you are. Is not only have y'all had the success that you've had, but you've done it against good programs.
Yeah, we've been to some of the bigger tournaments, and we've had to change our tournaments a little bit, but. We like our tournaments we're in. We're as I was telling you, we're going down to one we'd never been to since I've been here, down to the one in Gulf Shores in October. So I saw the team list and I'm like, good, that's what we want to go do. We want to go play against those teams and get challenged, especially late in the season when it matters the most.
Yeah, and we were talking about it's unlimited tournaments for volleyball, but you're limited to how many dates that you can schedule. And so how do you find that balance? You were telling me y'all have kind of figured out now this is the amount of tournaments we need to play in a season in order to be, not too tired once postseason comes.
Yeah. And I'm not a big fan of tri-matches, but when like the Hartselle Brewer was a tri-match, okay, you can't turn that down. Mm-hmm. You mentioned Montgomery Academy. We have been going down to Montgomery Academy the last Tuesday of the regular season, and it's Montgomery Academy, Pelham, and Enterprise. So 7A, 6A, 4A, yeah. Typically we're all ranked, and it's really good volleyball because it's a week before area tournament. So you can go in there and find out what you need to work on real quick, because you can go in there and if you're not playing well that day, it can go bad really, really fast.
Yeah.
But that's been a fun one, and we hope to keep that one going because it's that last Tuesday, and you get a chance to go see quality opponents late in the season. Like I said, if you're going to do something in the playoffs, that's what you got to see.
And, on top of having a hard, out-of-area schedule, but your area schedule's not easy either. And you got the number one team in 6A sitting in it with Chelsea right now. And knowing that they're ahead and that you're playing some of these teams now, I mean, how much do you think the competition you got right now is preparing you for Chelsea later on in the year?
Well, historically our area has been, I don't think Helena's having the year they want to have, but you can't discount them. And, a couple of years ago, all three of us were in the top 10.
Yeah.
I think that was 2 years ago. It might have been even last year. So that we've had that where your area, somebody's not coming out. And it's good because it gets you ready. You're not going to just, you're not going to breeze through your regular season area. You're going to have to fight and see what you're made out of to even get out. So that's been fun. I mean, I've had areas where, it's been probably a little easier path, and I've had areas that it's like, we better win on that day or we're done.
Yeah.
And it seems like the challenging one makes you, rise up a little faster, a little higher than maybe the other one does. So,
being a Division II coach and then making that move to, you'd done high school before, you're back here at high school now. What are some of the differences in being a Division II coach and then being a high school coach in the volleyball?
Well, in college, you're going out and getting your players. Mm-hmm. Here, it's whoever walks in the gym and wants to put the time in with you. So that's one. In high school, you're probably more working on your side of the net. Hopefully in college, if you're at a certain level, you're more focused on the other side of the net because you know what your side's going to do. And also there's just more time. You may only play twice a week, or you may play a Tuesday, Saturday, or a Friday, Saturday, and that may be all you do. So you're spending all week getting ready for 2 matches. Here, once you start playing, if you do Tuesday, Thursday in a tournament, there's 2 practices. Labor Day weekend, we take Labor Day off, so we had 1 practice that whole week. And then you get back to practice, you feel like, whoa, we hadn't done this in a while. So you have to kind of manage that. And we kind of build in some stuff that we want to do into our practices. If we think we want to run a certain set versus somebody, we'll kind of introduce it in our practices and then talk about what we do different. And they're like, oh, we did that. Okay, so we need to run that this week. And then, like I said, the biggest difference is going and getting your own players versus who walks in. And then the other big difference is it's the flip side of that, no recruiting, which I'm perfectly happy not to go recruit.
Yeah, I'm sure after running around the way that you've had to.
For 10 years, now it's just the springtime is the springtime. You don't have to go out every weekend to try and find players.
Oh, so. No doubt. And, when you're establishing a type of program that you guys have here at Pelham, it starts with consistency. Mm-hmm. How do you get the consistency? And obviously it was already consistent before you got here, but coming in and wanting to keep that going, how do you keep consistency going and keep each group hungry?
Well, they kind of see what's going on when they're in the lower group, and we do some stuff in the summer with our 7th and 8th graders involved with our older players in
mm-hmm.
our summer work. So they can see each other and they can see what it's like and what the older players can do, so we can kind of feel for what they're doing. Like I said, the younger players kind of feel what the older players are doing, and then just working really well with our middle school coaches and staff. I mean, we talk all the time. We bounce ideas off each other, probably more in the off season than during the season because it's just so fast.
Mm-hmm.
But we just talk and like, what do you think about this? What do you think we should do with this? And I'm getting feedback from them because they already know the kids and I don't. And then they're getting feedback from me just because of what I've seen and done. I'm like, hey, you ever thought about doing this? And sometimes they're like, we tried it, we don't like it. Or sometimes, oh, that's a good idea, let's see if that helps. So it's kind of, that I think helps that all of us through the whole system have been helping each other.
How important is it to be involved with your middle school, even the lower?
I think it's awesome. I think you need to do it. I think you need to be down there. They need to know who we are at the high school. they hopefully strive to get up to the high school and be players. It can't work that way. We all know that, but we still want them all to think, hey, I can do that with a little hard work and some diligence, So I think it's very important for our program.
You see it at some of the schools that I go to where some programs aren't winning and kids don't want to go be a part of it. You don't really have that problem here because you have been winning. So, I mean, do you see that kids want to be a part of the volleyball program here at Pelham? You don't really have to go beg kids to come out of the hallways.
No, we have good numbers. I won't deny that, but it's the historical part of the program that helps us with the numbers. When we went from Shelby County to Pelham City, we did drop down the 2 teams for a couple of years, but we expected that. We didn't know when we'd have the freshman team come back. Honestly, I thought it was going to be this year, the 19 year. It ended up being the 18 fall. So it's our second year back having 3 teams, and we really like having the 3 teams. It's challenging for practice sometimes, but that's a challenge we're happy to have.
Yeah, and that was another thing I wanted to ask you about was the split between Helena and Pelham. I mean, how much did that affect athletics and numbers and things around here when that happened?
Well, I'll just speak on volleyball if that's okay. We had a big freshman group that year, and almost all of them, a vast majority of them went to Helena, and they ended up being a really good group all the way through over there. So initially, I think I don't think it hurt us, but it kind of maybe kept us right where we were and not going up because we lost those numbers. But I think the kids that stayed here, they worked extremely hard in those 4 years without a freshman team. So 2 the first year and then 2 these last 2 years and a little gap, 4-year gap in the middle. I mean, it hurt us, but I don't know that it was enough. I mean, you lose any kids that are playing on JV as freshmen go over to another school, and you're like, ooh, that's gonna and then and you watch them grow over there because they were just right there. So it was fun to see them do well, and then we weren't in the area for a while with them. So it really the only time we saw them in an area match was their senior year, and they were really good their senior year. So they did a good job.
And I mean, it's something that I guess they felt like needed to happen and stuff. But for you guys, when you did lose that freshman team, I mean, why is it important to you to have the freshman team and to have that a part of your program? They
get to, if they're freshmen only on JV, they may not play as much. So you get those game reps. That's the big deal. They get they get the schedule. It's only 10 days. They can play unlimited tournaments. But it's just getting those. Playing when the scoreboard's on and the jersey's on and there's a referee in the gym. That's the stuff we can simulate that all we want in practice, but it's like any other sport. Doing it, with people in the stands, scoreboard on, referee. It's always better to have it that way so they can kind of get a feel for, oh, this is what they mean in practice. Well, why we need to do this, this, and this because it does carry over. So getting those, I think it's 10 matches for freshmen, 10 play dates. That's awesome. They need it. It's good for the sport also, not just for Pelham, but for. I know there's several coaches in this area. We've talked about freshman teams, and you feel like you got to have when you have the numbers, you got to have one, and it's good for the game.
And I mean, obviously for y'all, you've won a state championship recently, so it hadn't hurt you too much. But did you feel like could you see a difference in these classes that were without the 9th grade team and how?
Well, like I said, that wasn't the whole 9th grade. It was just a big chunk of it.
Okay.
It just when they left, we kind of figured we knew it was coming up. We knew what we were losing. And it was just better for us to kind of not worry about a freshman team those first couple of years. Just put it on 2 teams and just train the heck out of those 2 teams. And that's kind of what we did. So didn't think about it that way very much, to be honest. Just kind of when I got here, there was already talk. I guess the school was had just the dirt was being moved maybe because it was 2 years in. But I mean it was happening. So it was kind of like, okay, we're gonna lose. This is the kids that are. This class has to go. So, they were here, we trained them as best we could, and then they went over to Helena and did their thing, and we just kept, like I said, kept training what we had, and it ended up working out pretty well, I'd say.
Yeah, so, for this year's team, like we mentioned, 15-6 right now, where do you really feel like that y'all are really good at, and where are some areas that you feel like, we've got to improve here if we really want to accomplish what we feel like we can accomplish here?
If you watch us, we're a lot of lineups. Even though we've got some mainstays, we have not found a group that's like, oh, that's the group. And I don't know that we're going to have it this year. It may just be the group that plays well that day. So we've had a lot of players come and go, and this is as talented a group as we've had. So that's not, you say that, most of the time you're like, oh, that's not a good thing. But this year, all of them we plugged them in, they do well, and if maybe they slow down a little bit, we'll plug somebody else and see what they do. So that's a challenge on the staff, and it's honestly, I think, a challenge on the players. They've had to kind of like, who's behind me, who's playing well, who's practicing well, because we've had to think about, well, somebody just had 3 good days of practice. We need to get them on the court if they're not on the court. We're not serving as good as I'd like us to. We track side out percentages and point scoring when we're serving, and when we play those good teams, we're not serving very good. So that's one of the things we're looking at. We've got to be better when it's our turn to serve at teams and score more points that way. Defensively, I think we're okay. I think, blocking, we are kind of what we are. That's nothing we're going to stress too much about. And we're just point scoring. I mean, it's the volleyball's become a point scoring game. If you cannot score points, you're going to have a hard time winning. So we spend a lot of time in practice on those things.
Yeah, and talking to your girls, they kind of talked about how this year's team is different because they feel like they're just a little bit more undersized than y'all have been. Here's what they were saying.
Well, I'd like to hear them say that, but we have not been what I would call big in a while. Pelham, we've had a lot of successful girls programs. We have players on the volleyball team that go to indoor track and outdoor track. We've had players play basketball and softball. So what we may not have in height, we have pretty good athletes, and that I'll take that every day. I mean, that's a good deal.
Yeah.
So
did you have to adjust how you coach though compared to D2 where you could go get it?
No, the game's the game.
Okay.
We just look at, kind of figure out a lot of self-scouting. What are we good at? We have a couple, benchmark numbers that we think we need to hit to be successful, and it's just a challenge to find the group that can hit that the most. Like any team in any sport, accentuate what you do good, kind of hide a little bit what you do bad, and then roll it out on the court and see what happens. So.
Yeah, I mean, it's just simple. Volleyball.
It's simple, yeah. Volleyball. It's simple, yeah.
So, well, Coach, I really appreciate you taking the time to sit down with me, and telling me about your program. Y'all have had a lot of success here. I've enjoyed keeping up with y'all, keeping up with the success, and wish you guys nothing but luck the rest of this year, and looking forward to seeing how this year goes for you guys.
Well, thanks. It's still early, but we're excited. I think we're still, one of our challenges is get 1% better each day. So as long as we can keep working towards that, we'll see where the end of the season takes us. So I appreciate you coming in and talking to me and a couple of the players.
Yes, sir. No doubt. Thank you.